If you were talking to our students, they would say that the biggest aha moment is their first commission. It's a really unique industry because you only earn money if you're helping others to win. We've got an interesting tech stack. Our sites are built around on WordPress platforms, plus additional plugins to handle the membership and access.
Shane Walton helps people launch commercial loan broker businesses through the Commercial Loan Broker Institute. That's a training and business launch program that combines education, coaching, branding, marketing, lender relationships, CRM, and broker tools. I'm Risto, and this is MemberFix Radio. Shane, what's the biggest misconception people have about becoming a commercial loan broker?
I often hear people say that they are excited about entering the industry because they want to sell money. Right? Money's everything. It makes the world go round. It's something that everyone wants, everybody needs. What could be easier than selling money? But that's really a fundamental misconception about what a commercial loan broker is actually doing in the market. Money is the ultimate commodity and not what you want to be selling. Instead, your role as a broker is that of trusted capital advisor. And you need to understand that from the start in order to wrap your head around how this business really works and what you do day in and day out to help both clients who are borrowers and your clients who are lenders.
And I have to ask, what pulled you into the commercial finance world in the first place?
Really seeing the impact that it has on all sectors of business and our economy and lives. Back in the day, started in politics, spent a number of years teaching at different universities. I was a Fulbright Fellow for the U.S. State Department. And then I went into more hands-on political campaigning on national legislative campaigns. And from all of that, I really came to see that there's a couple of things that move the world. And one is messaging, being able to get the right message out in the right way to the right audience to get them to take the action you need, but also being able to put in place the capital to support your endeavors. And so I've got companies in the marketing space as well as in the commercial finance space now, because that really is the heart of what makes dreams come true for people when they're building businesses.
And Shane, just for our audience in plain English, what does a commercial loan broker actually do?
A commercial loan broker helps a borrower who's going to be a business owner or a real estate investor or developer. They help this borrower to unlock capital that will support them in achieving their dreams. That process has many different stages. It starts with a conversation where the broker is working as a consultant, as an advisor, and helping that borrower, that client, to get a better understanding of exactly where they're at today and where they want to go, and what that path looks like if it is supported by capital or if it's not. And if capital is going to accelerate their success down the path, then the broker continues the conversation to help the borrower understand what different capital products, loan products, financing vehicles would have different advantages or disadvantages for that particular scenario, the goals and the situation that that borrower has. And then once they've outlined a strategy and the business owner, the real estate developer, whoever they're serving is excited about that strategy, the broker takes the next step of taking that story, that narrative about the business, where it's been, where it's going, what the big opportunity is right now, takes that narrative and packages it up with a clean description of that story that then is proven by the right documents. And it takes that package, in lending terms, your file, your package, and the broker puts that package in front of the right fit lenders, because we live in a really fragmented capital market. In other words, we are getting more and more specialized lenders who are each looking for their own unique type of deal to support. They've got their own appetite. We call it the credit box, but it's really what they're hungry to fund. And the broker's next job is to line that package, that narrative, story, and documents up with the right lender that's going to be excited about that, rather than turning away because it's not a fit for what they care about. And then the broker supports the two parties, the lender and the borrower, in working together. They support the negotiations, they support the collaboration, they keep the communication flowing to move that entire project ahead to funding. So the broker is really supporting two parties throughout this. They're working to support the client, the borrower, and help them win, and the lender to help them win by getting the right type of loans into their books. And when they do that, they get paid a portion of the funded amount, which is usually quite a significant commission.
Thank you. And Shane, give me a Goosebumps story in your line of work, like someone who came into CLBI, that they were unsure or they were brand new at this, and then built a real momentum as a broker.
Yeah. I always enjoy it when we get texts or emails or phone calls from brokers in our network who are calling to have someone to share with, to share and celebrate their success, right? So this can take a lot of different forms. I remember one who he was unsure of which program to go into. He chose one of the smaller programs that was probably about a $10,000 investment. And when he started, he was still feeling kind of uncertain. Was it right for him? Was it not? And we got a text from him one morning saying it works. And it was kind of just a receipt, a bank receipt printout from an ATM that showed a deposit of 50,000. So he had done his first deal. He wasn't sure that it all had worked. So he went to the bank. It was closed early in the morning. He went to the ATM, found a transaction, printed it out, took a picture of it, and sent it to us because he was so excited. And that was only his very first deal. I remember another one, he was actually an accountant, a younger gentleman in his 20s, an accountant, and he decided to sort of walk away from his prior accounting job to join his dad in starting this new brokerage. And we got an excited email from him one day because he had just gotten they together had just gotten their first $100,000 commission check, and they were excited. They had been in the business for 6-9 months, had gotten a lot of commissions along the way, but they were first one breaking six figures, and it was a real big deal. And talked through his story, how he bought a nice bottle of whiskey to the closing, and just you could tell that it's so transformational, especially if you're starting this early in your career, and you're in your 20s and realizing, wow, I've unlocked an immense wealth generating opportunity here. Those are the stories that keep us coming back in and working hard every day.
That definitely gives the goosebumps. And on the contrary, what's the most expensive mistake new brokers make early on in their careers?
I think the most expensive, consistent mistake is one of starting slow due to fear, right? I mean, being real, whenever you're going into a new industry, that is scary. Whenever you are starting a new business of any type and you don't know for sure if it's going to work, that's something that causes pause. And I see consistently that new brokers will hit that pause button for a lot longer than they should. And to be clear, understanding your products, understanding how to work as a broker, having the right scripts, the right SOPs and procedures, all of that is critical for success. And there's a point at which you've gotten the resources, you've gone through the training programs, and the thing that's going to move you ahead most quickly is taking the next step, getting out into the market. It's not saying, wait, do I really understand this product and reviewing it for the 10th time? It is picking up the phone or going to a networking event or logging into LinkedIn and sending out a message, right? And starting to get the flow going. Because I have seen brokerages fail because they haven't gotten up enough momentum to get going. They just stay too small, play it too safe for too long, and eventually their energy fizzles away. But I've never seen a brokerage that has active conversations with good fit opportunities that then goes to failure because naturally, once you start talking with people who need financing and you know the lenders who can finance them, you do the other steps. You do what's necessary to help all the parties. But it's not 100% necessary to help someone to pick up the phone and call them the first time, or to send that first message on LinkedIn, or to go to that first networking event. So the most consistent costly mistake is playing small and starting too slowly due to fear.
And every broker, either a huge success story from the start or a one that does an expensive mistake from the start, they still wanted to go to discovering the CLBI and to actually launching their own commercial finance businesses. So how does someone do that? How do they go from discovering you to launching their finance business?
Oh. So the first step is some initial conversations where we are really making sure that they are a great fit for the industry and for the business model, and that they're going to succeed, that we believe they have what it takes to succeed, and that they also truly understand the business model, what it's going to take, and that they are excited and also believe that they can succeed. Once that is achieved, that it's identified that it's clearly a good path, then everything after that flows pretty much step by step within our programs. You go through a 5-stage educational flow that begins with online education, then personalized education, one-on-one Q&A and coaching, into what we call a skills bootcamp, a live practice-based intensive 3 days long, where you're practicing each of the different steps you're going to be executing as a broker, rehearsing scripts, getting questions answered. And then you move into what we call the Jump Squad. It is essentially a 3-month continuing education, but implementation phase where you're meeting every week in a small group coaching environment. You've already developed your business plan. You've got it all outlined, what you're doing step by step. You've gone over it with a coach, revised it, and you're ready to hit the ground running by the time you get to your Jump Squad. And in the Jump Squad, you're then going out. One of our mottos there is report and support. You're going out, you're executing, coming back in every week, reporting on what progress you've made and getting support. And we find that really helps keep a new broker on track for launching the brokerage. And one of the reasons we invest in that so heavily is to avoid that challenge that we were talking about earlier, Risto, that challenge of playing too small, going too slow, to make sure that they're really supported in the implementation and getting out on the market. And then after those first 90 days and they've got a pipeline and things are flowing, they move into the final stage we call masterminds. It's essentially 2 years of ongoing education. So they are coming back instead of every week, every other week, and meeting new lenders and deepening their knowledge. So we really have a very structured multi-year educational program. And then we also at the same time are at the outset of that working with them to build out a custom brand, their website and their socials and graphics, and putting up their emails and printing their business cards and designing their PowerPoint presentations they'll use when they're talking with clients. We're doing all of that custom branding in-house so that they launch with a full business face that's truly unique to them. We don't use a franchise model. You're not buying one of our brokerages. We help independent entrepreneurs start independent brokerages. And then along the way, we're also putting together their tech stack, their CRM, online applications, starting off their marketing. We do daily social media posting, blogging, email. So we get that whole marketing engine running as well. So it's really step by step after someone decides that this is the right opportunity for them.
Mm-hmm. And I have to ask, what's the first aha moment that you want every new broker to have when learning?
I think if you were talking to our students, they would say that the biggest aha moment is their first commission check, right? That's the point at which all of this theory becomes very tangible and real. And they say, wow, it took me a while to get here, but I spent 5, 10 hours on this deal and I just got paid 5, 10, 20K. This is real. So for them, from that perspective, that's their biggest aha moment. But your question, Risto, was what's the biggest aha moment that I want them to have? I want them to shift from thinking like a borrower to thinking like a lender. Right? Because they're thinking very different ways. A borrower is very focused on Here's my business, where my business is. Here's where my business needs to go. And I need the cash to get here. Give me the cash. They think in terms of timelines and hot deadlines and seize the opportunity, right? They also think, what can I qualify for, right? Can I qualify for the cash? That's borrower thinking. Lender thinking is very different. They are focused on really understanding the history of a business or an investor. They're focused on understanding the risk associated with that particular project or venture. They're focused on understanding the risk with that borrower and with the business and with the property if it's a real estate play. And they think fundamentally different. They're using a lens of what we call the 6 C's of credit, where they're analyzing deals through their own lens, their own framework. And brokers are fundamentally a bridge between the borrower world and the lender world, right? They speak different languages. They have different focus. They think in different ways. And the broker is the bridge between those two that allows these two parties to find each other and work together well to create a common success. And in order to do that, the broker needs to be able to think like both the borrower and like the lender. And new brokers will much more naturally think like the borrower than the lender. So the biggest aha that I am looking for is for them to suddenly reframe and be able to think through an underwriting lens. Because once they do that, they have the skills to be successful as a broker.
And Shane, CLBI isn't just a course. Your site talks about training, coaching, brand development, automated marketing, which we talked about, business toolbox, the CRM that they get, the skills training, lender network. So how do you decide what they need, what a new broker needs first without them feeling overwhelmed?
We think of our programs, our institute really as an incubator for loan brokerages, right? And an incubator needs to provide each company, each brokerage with the support, the nutrition, what they need in order to get to the next stage in their life. And that's why the question you asked, how do you tell what they need, is so important, and why we spend the time in those initial conversations that I mentioned, those initial consultations before someone jumps into our program to really understand where they're coming from. Because many people are starting from scratch and they're going to need the branding, they're going to need the marketing support, they're going to need the training and education, they're going to need all of it, essentially, the entire system. But others are coming in with a supporting ancillary brand. In other words, they're coming in and they're already an accountant. We've had accountant agencies, CPAs. We've had law firms. So one had 20 plus attorneys, 50 plus support staff in that one office, and they do a lot of business law. With that, they want to add on capital as one of the services that they can unlock for their business clients. If somebody is doing a business deal, they are employing these attorneys to help review, structure the acquisition of another company. Great. Well, do you need the capital to fund this? Oh, our team can do that too, right? So it's a clear plugin, but they don't want to walk away from this immense law firm that is generating so much more money than their brokerage initially will, not over the long haul, but initially. And because of that, they don't need branding. They don't need marketing. They don't need a number of these services because everything is already built under their current brand. So in those cases, we're looking at the programs that strip away all of those other resources they're not going to use. And for somebody else, they might be launching with a whole team. We have programs where our trainers will fly to your city and they will teach in person for 3 days your staff and only your staff to make sure that you are skilled up and ready to go quickly. And then we will do ongoing weekly training sessions where you're bringing your team together with an expert coach to support them on each and every one of their deals. So we really focus on those initial consultations where we come to understand what the missing pieces are for you in order to be successful. And then we make sure that the program you're joining into is the right one for you. Really, again, that incubator philosophy.
And Shane, your model includes online training and tools so people don't have to travel or wait to start. So, what makes online broker training actually stick instead of just becoming, like videos people buy and never finish? So, how do you make sure they are committed from start to finish?
It's a really interesting question, Risto, and actually goes back to our origins. We are almost at a decade now of supporting and launching brokerages, 500 brokerages around the country. And from that, our early days, up until 2020, and when COVID happened, we would only do our trainings in person. Everybody would have to fly into Denver, sit around our conference table in our offices, and we would do intensive training over the course of a week. And then we were forced to address that and evolve it when travel was no longer available and due to COVID. And from that, we started surveying people about what they thought of the initial structure, what the great benefits were, and what the challenges were. And what we found was that for some people, it worked extremely well, especially when they had a background in the space. If somebody's a banker and they're coming in, they already understand 80% of the language. They already think 50 to 75% like a broker. For somebody starting off, it's a lot of information. It's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. It's just overwhelming, right? So we heard from lots of people who were not coming in with a background in commercial finance that they needed things that they could review and go more slowly. But we also heard from plenty of people that the energy of the human connection was what kept them going. And we also heard that the ability to have live conversations was essential to ideas locking in, because it might be that the way they read it or the way they saw it in a video just didn't make sense. But then when they asked the question and we echoed their words back to them, they suddenly got it. So we evolved into this really unique training system that I briefly went over that is online videos, but that's one of 5 phases. We are also giving them right along with that kind of hand in hand, that one-on-one coaching and support. Why? Because that one-on-one dialogue helps lock it in, right? I'm sure, are walking away from this conversation with a much better understanding, Risto, of exactly what a loan broker does day to day than if I
For
had just
sure.
sent over a video, right?
For sure.
And so that's why we have those personalized education sessions one-on-one. That's why we, after they have the knowledge, we lock it in with practice. That skills bootcamp isn't about coming in and getting lectured on the same stuff you already were lectured on. That skills bootcamp is coming in and practicing. If a client tells you this, what are you thinking of for financing? Now let's look over their P&L. Now what are you thinking? Now let's look at their balance sheet. Now let's look at their tax returns and really practicing what a broker does and how they think in real time together. So that skills bootcamp locks in and also uncovers what didn't make sense, because you might think everything makes sense, but in the end, there were missing pieces that you just didn't know. We don't want you to find those missing pieces when you're in the market. We don't want you to find, shit, I don't know that, when you're in front of a client. We want you to find out with a coach so that you can fill it in the safe environment. So that's why we have that. And then we found that just giving the education and the practice wasn't enough. You needed support on the actual implementation, because otherwise you could just take that and do nothing with it, which is why we had the jump squads. And then we also realized that you can learn so much, but there's layers to expertise in every industry. I am sure at MemberFX, you find that true, that somebody joins and they level up, right? And their skills. True in every industry. And here we found that what they could learn on week 1 is different than what they can understand on month 6. And what they get here is different than what they understand at year 2, which is why we have that ongoing mastermind program where they are learning more every other week. And
Mhm.
so the entirety of our educational flow is built to address that exact problem that you brought up.
That's a very, very interesting way of sharing your knowledge with brokers, future brokers. And let's talk systems for a bit. So behind the scenes, what kind of tools or workflows are you using for student onboarding, course access, your one-on-one coaching, CRM, automations, tech support? progress tracking. And those are, I know those are a lot of systems. So something for sure breaks. So what breaks most often in
Mhm.
that circle?
Yeah. So all of those things we've got, but that's just one component. We've got CRM that's tied into that, that then takes all of our, we use Zapier or Zapier for tying in. If you fill out a personality quiz to identify if you have the right personality for this, to get into our CRM and trigger automations, versus if you watch our webinar that then, triggers into other automations, and then automated drip emails that are run through our kind of CRM environment. And then we have others for content creation. So we use Monday for team management, but then we also use tons of tools from, we use Riverside for filming, and doing interviews and recording those and getting them up. We use Descript for the post video production to add in additional text to make the videos more easy to follow from an educational perspective. We host on video to flow through Vimeo and then embed various places for siloed gated content as opposed to what we're posting publicly on YouTube. So we've got a pretty complex tech stack. You asked specifically after that what crashes or kind of where I get headaches.
Mm-hmm.
I get headaches different days, different places, right, brother? Sometimes clients learning email systems early on, kind of on their onboarding process, that can be a challenge. That people are used to Gmail and they go to gmail.com and log in to use their email, right? And many times people are not used to using email clients that will streamline their email experience, and they don't know how to integrate it. So that's often something that, we're supporting. Here's how you set up an IMAP connection here. And then we have it in their CRM, and then helping them understand that the same IMAP connection that goes into their CRM, so they have email templates to send and easy tracking, is going to work to get it on their phone, but it's going to have to be a different program and blah, blah, blah. So email support on the support, customer support side is one. On our side, just caching. We're always adding new blog articles and new videos
Mm-hmm.
on our site, and just the caching challenges. And if you have to clear the server cache versus the CDN versus the, all of that. And if something goes wrong, then the 5 pages on your website look wonky for the next 2 weeks and you had no idea about it. Those sorts of headaches happen as well.
So if you could wave a wand and fix that, you would fix that in a heartbeat,
Yeah, that would be
especially the
very nice.
caching and the IMAP issues.
Hmm.
And Shane, tell me about a time where something genuinely went sideways. Maybe during a launch, during support overload, some CRM issue, funnel issue. What happened there, and what did you change afterward?
Yeah. One thing that went a bit sideways when we've restructured our programs. This is maybe 6 months ago, to add in a more complete lower entry level to our programs that constrains the initial investment for clients and still allows them to get branding and marketing resources, but not done for them. But they still get a website, but we used a template basis for the website. Whereas with most of our programs, it's full custom build, whatever they want.
Mhm,
We're designing it, but we restructured. And as part of that, we were restructuring the way in which we delivered, in particular, that website and hosting environment. And we eventually got to the place where we could deploy it very efficiently. But we had to go through multiple different hosting environments to find one that would allow us to have basically a automated website deployment, that when someone enrolls, they set up their hosting, and by default, it's set up with a 98% complete website for the brokerage. All the pages, all the copy, all the design. We just have to go in and do the logo and company information and contact info and done. But to have that automated step, we went through probably 3, 4 different hosts and tons of tech support. I mean, that was 40 hours of my life to get that exact system running. And for we now are at the place where we can launch in an hour, but it was a place where the first few who were going through that program were launching in, a week instead of an hour.
mhm. So
And
sub tenancy with a twist.
Yes, exactly.
That's really really interesting. Actually, I would like to hear more about that. So Shane, in the coming years, let's say 3 to 5 years, what's next for CLBI? Are you building anything or improving anything?
Yeah. So we'll go much shorter than that time frame. I'll just talk about what I'm working on building right now. So at the moment, we're in the process, kind of behind the scenes, of launching two new parallel programs. Um, One is going to be for capital partners. So essentially, we communicate with a lot of people who are looking to generate revenue from providing the people they know with access to capital. It's what a broker does. They generate revenue because they help people connect with the right lenders, but they don't want to go the whole way in. They don't want to learn a new industry. They don't want to build a new brand. They're happy with their company. They're an accounting firm or a real estate broker, and that's where they want to focus and that's who they want to be. But they know their client base needs this and they'd love to make money off of introductions. And behind the scenes, we've always supported that informally. Somebody is an accountant, a business broker, a real estate broker, a banker. They want to find a way to make referrals and earn money off of them. We'll connect them with a good brokerage in their market that will do exactly that. But we're turning it into a formal program that you can go to our website, apply to be a capital partner. And then when you're doing that, you're set up so that you're going to earn a healthy commission every time you refer an opportunity and it funds. So we're going to support that ecosystem moving forward to help those people who love the idea but aren't ready to become full brokers. Second program that we're launching is what we're calling it the Broker Circle. And it's really focused on later stage commercial loan brokers. And so if you think of the entire gamut of becoming a commercial loan broker, our capital partner program is going to be early stage before you're even ready to raise your hand as a broker. You just want to refer. And then our other programs support as you evolve. You want to become a broker and then you want your own brand, and we support all of that. But what about after you've been in the market for 5, 10, 20 years? We have brokerages that have gone through our launch programs and they did it 9 years ago and they're still with us today and we still support them and do coaching calls and help them connect with lenders. So we have those, but we don't really have a program currently for brokerages outside who launched outside of CLBI, who launched outside of our institute. But there's a need for it. There's a need for a room where you have excellent brokers talking shop, because in that room, you get little tips here and there that are going to have a massive impact on your business. And even something that generates you another 2 or 3 deals in a given year, that one little thing somebody said that generates you 2 or 3 more deals, that could be 20, 30,000, or it could be 200, 300,000 more revenue that year from that one little thing. So that room to support later stage brokerages that connects them not only with brokers, but with education, with events, and with lenders who are regularly teaching others their credit box, their products. That's something that's needed in the market and something that we're launching here in the near future. So we're really working to expand to serve both sides of the brokerage life cycle and development.
That that was an amazing answer. And I do have just one more question for you, Shane, and that's if you could put one short message on every broker's laptop before they start, what would that message say?
Help your clients and lenders win.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's really it's a really unique industry because you only earn money if you are helping others to win. And you have to help multiple people to win in order to make that money. Because when you're getting a borrower financed, you're helping them to achieve their dreams. They don't want a loan for the sake of a loan. Nobody wakes up and says, I want more debt today. They say, I want to achieve my dreams. The loan without achieving the dreams would be meaningless. So you're helping your borrowers to achieve their dreams. At the same time, you're helping your lenders to win, because if they can't find the right clients, they can't lend out money, they can't be profitable. And if they have to talk to 100 different clients to find one, or you always refer them the right people, so they only have to talk to one person to find one client, that's a huge win for them. So to be successful as a broker, you have to help the borrower and the lender both win simultaneously. If you make that your laser focus, you're going to make massive amount of money in this space.
Shane, thank you for the amazing podcast episode. For everyone watching, this was Shane Walton, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. And see you on the next episode of MemberFix Radio.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Risto. I enjoyed our conversation.